There I was, ankle-deep in water gushing from my front lawn, screaming at two HOA contractors wielding a running jackhammer. They stared at me as if I were the crazy one. One had the audacity to ask, "Well, why'd you bury your main line there?" As if I had personally installed the water main in the 1970s. No, this isn't a movie. This is what happens when a power-hungry HOA president plays militia in the wrong neighborhood. Freeze frame. Yep, that's meth guy whose private well HOA President Linda tapped into to illegally water her garden. What did I do? I flushed her system with sewage. And oh buddy, that was just the beginning. Now, if you're wondering how this escalated from jackhammers to sewage sabotage, buckle up, because this HOA drama intensified faster than a toddler on Red Bull. My name's Alex, 38, divorced, former city planner with just enough free time, sarcasm, and post-divorce bitterness to weaponize pettiness into an art form. I moved into this so-called community about 8 months ago, drawn in by the low crime rate, quiet streets, and a view of the mountains that made me feel like maybe just maybe life was giving me a second chance. Then I met Linda. Linda Thompson, HOA president, the kind of woman who wears a pressed polo shirt with a clipboard like it's a badge. She had that permanently tight smile, like she was either sucking on a lemon or holding in a lawsuit. At first, I tried to stay off her radar. I kept my lawn trimmed, paid the weird monthly community fund fee, and even attended one of those awkward HOA meetings where everyone pretends to care about mailbox paint consistency. But you know how some people are born to be villains? Linda was born to be an HOA president. She lived for bylaws, power plays, and passive-aggressively correcting people's landscaping choices. The trouble started when I refused to pay an arbitrary water beautification surcharge. That's right, she wanted residents to fund the installation of decorative sprinklers around the neighborhood, even though most of us were already struggling with drought restrictions. When I asked what the money was actually going toward, she blinked at me and said, "You wouldn't understand. It's about community optics." I told her optics didn't keep my water bill from doubling. That's when she decided I was the neighborhood problem. Flash forward 2 weeks, and without notice, 2 guys in neon vests show up in front of my yard with a jackhammer and start drilling into the sidewalk. No warning, no permits posted, not even a heads-up email. And here's the kicker, my house isn't even on the HOA's official map. I bought it from an older couple who'd never signed the original charter, so legally, my property wasn't part of their turf. But that didn't stop Linda. The moment that water main exploded under the pavement, it looked like Old Faithful had relocated to my lawn. Water surged, mud everywhere. My azaleas literally floated out of their bed like they were trying to escape. I came running out barefoot, trying not to get electrocuted by the landscape lighting they'd also clipped, yelling for them to stop. The 2 contractors blinked at me like confused possums, shrugged, and kept going. When I demanded to know who authorized the work, they said the HOA president. I asked if they had a permit or utility clearance. They said she told them she took care of it. Of course she did. Linda, who probably thinks a Gantt chart is a fancy cheese. I turned off my main line at the emergency valve, but the damage was already done. The burst pipe had soaked through the front foundation and started seeping into my crawl space. My hardwood flooring buckled, my water heater fried, my patience non-existent. Linda strolled over that afternoon like she was visiting a friend at brunch. I was still in soaked jeans, trying to move furniture away from the spreading water line, when she said, "Oh, that's unfortunate. You should have told us your line was there." "Lady, it's a water main. It's literally on the municipal record." I told her she'd pay for every cent of the damages. She scoffed and told me to read the fine print. That's when I did. I dug through every HOA document, every public filing, every meeting minute I could find. And in the deepest corner of the bylaws and appendix nobody had touched since the Bush administration, I found it. Article 12, Clause C, in the event of property damage caused by HOA contracted work, the association shall be liable to the homeowner for triple the total repair cost if fault is established. Triple. Not double. Not reimbursement. Triple. I smiled the kind of smile that says you just handed the wrong guy the nuke codes. See, they'd written that clause years ago to protect the community from rogue contractors. Problem is, they forgot to amend it when Linda took over and started handing out contracts to her cousin's sketchy side business, Prestige Municipal Works, which had exactly 0 reviews and no license on file. I contacted my homeowner's insurance, got an estimate from a certified plumber and a foundation expert. Total repair cost, $28,000. With triple damages, Linda's little pet project just became an $84,000 mistake. But I didn't send a demand letter. Not yet. See, Linda had one more secret one I found out the hard way when I noticed a strange little PVC pipe running from her backyard under the shared green belt between our houses. A pipe leading to a suspicious sprinkler system in her hydrangea garden, which had stayed miraculously green through the entire drought. I traced it. It led directly to my private well. Yep. She was siphoning off my water from a well I had dug before I even moved incompletely off-grid and unconnected to the HOA. She thought I wouldn't notice. Or maybe she thought I wouldn't know what to do. Well, she was wrong on both counts. That's when I made the call to my buddy Marcus, who used to work in city code enforcement before he became a full-time plumber/chaos gremlin. I asked him how hard it would be to reroute a non-pressurized line through a gray water holding tank. He asked how much fun I wanted to have on a scale of 1 to civil lawsuit. So, while Linda was out hosting an HOA community morale brunch, Marcus and I got to work. Legally, it was my water system. The line was on my property and I was technically testing a new waste filtration method. What flowed through Linda's illegal garden irrigation for the next 2 hours wasn't just dirty, it was poetic. She came home to a smell. Then the roses died. Then the begonias turned black. Then she marched over to my door, screaming something about sabotage and environmental terrorism right as I hit play on the footage I'd recorded of her cousin's workers admitting they had no clue what they were digging into. I told her she'd have to file a formal complaint in writing per HOA procedure. She left shaking, but the real fun came the next morning when she tried to push a lien on my property for unauthorized system tampering. What she didn't know, what no one on the HOA board knew, was that I had just filed a claim in small claims court with photos, receipts, contractor statements, and a certified copy of the HOA bylaws. And Linda? There I was, ankle-deep in water gushing from my front lawn, screaming at 2 HOA contractors wielding a running jackhammer. They stared at me as if I were the crazy one. One had the audacity to ask, "Well, why'd you bury your main line there?" As if I had personally installed the water main in the 1970s. No, this isn't a movie. This is what happens when a power-hungry HOA president plays militia in the wrong neighborhood. Freeze frame. Yep, that's meth guy whose private well HOA President Linda tapped into to illegally water her garden. What did I do? I flushed her system with sewage. And oh buddy, that was just the beginning. Now, if you're wondering how this escalated from jackhammers to sewage sabotage, buckle up, because this HOA drama intensified faster than a toddler on Red Bull. My name's Alex, 38, divorced, former city planner with just enough free time, sarcasm, and post-divorce bitterness to weaponize pettiness into an art form. I moved into this so-called community.